The recently started war between the United States and Iran has surprised many military experts, as the United States, the world's largest economy and most powerful military, has faced a number of serious weaknesses in its conflict with Iran, a country that has been under heavy sanctions for nearly 50 years and has suffered significant blows from the Iranian side. Today, I will tell you about the mistakes made by the United States in the war with Iran. Due to strict rules on YouTube, I can't share a lot of information, so you can go to my Telegram channel and check it out there. Since 1991, after the collapse of its main rival, the USSR, the United States became the strongest and most influential superpower in the world. No country was capable of posing a real threat to it. As a result, in the early 2000s, the United States increased its influence in the Middle East. Through diplomatic pressure, it brought Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and other oil-rich Arab countries under its influence and strengthened its military presence. As for the states that did not comply, such as Iraq, Libya, and Syria, they were defeated, and in practice, these countries fell apart internally. In wars with countries such as Iraq and Libya, the United States tried to present itself to the world as an enforcer of justice and was able to effectively use the support of its NATO allies. In the war between Russia and Ukraine that began in 2022, Russia demonstrated its military weakness. Western countries realized that Russia was not as strong as they had assumed. From that moment on, when the United States showed aggression toward various countries, it stopped justifying itself with diplomatic language and began openly stating its objectives. This became especially evident with Donald Trump's return to power for a second term. So, let us move on to the mistakes made by the United States in the war with Iran. First mistake: the deterioration of relations with NATO countries. Trump managed to present the United States in an unfavorable light in front of all its allies. For example, he threatened many countries, including longtime partners, European states, saying that if they did not comply with US demands, he would impose high tariffs on them. This caused damage to the economies of a number of European countries. In addition, he showed interest in Danish territory by demanding that Greenland be handed over to the United States. He also warned that if they refused, even the use of military force to take it could not be ruled out. Naturally, the fact that such statements came from the United States, a country that had previously acted as a guarantor of the territorial integrity of its European allies, greatly surprised many European states. The United States' disrespectful attitude toward European countries became especially evident during the US-Iran conflict. When the US demanded that European countries support them and use military force against Iran, the European states avoided this and refused. In particular, Spain openly confronted the US and categorically refused to provide support, while Germany stated, "This is not our war," thereby expressing its unwillingness to assist. Despite the fact that the war in Iran caused an oil shortage in Europe, European leaders, expressing their dissatisfaction with US policy, responded very slowly and reluctantly to requests for assistance from the United States. In previous wars in the Middle East, the United States acted much more flexibly, and its relations with European countries were completely different. Because of this, many NATO member states took an active part and provided significant support for the US-led wars in Iraq and subsequently in Libya and Syria. This situation allowed the United States to achieve a quick victory. In recent years, due to its policies, the United States has lost broad support from its NATO allies. Second mistake: the killing of Ali Khamenei. If we look at US-Iran conflicts, we can see that under the leadership of Ali Khamenei, Iran did not demonstrate significant force and even responded rather cautiously in retaliation. For example, at the beginning of 2020, one of Iran's most well-known generals, Qasem Soleimani, was killed as a result of a US strike. Iran took this event very seriously, and countries around the world expected a powerful retaliatory strike. However, Iran limited its response to launching 10 to 15 ballistic missiles at a US base in Iraq, At the same time, there were no casualties among American soldiers. On June 22, 2025, the US side, utilizing B-2 Spirit aircraft, entered Iranian airspace and dropped heavy bombs on Iranian nuclear facilities, causing massive explosions. Despite this action being a direct violation of national borders and a strike that constituted a significant casus belli, the Khamenei government limited its response to suspending cooperation with the IAEA and launching an attack on a US base in Qatar. Furthermore, they provided advance warning regarding the impending attack. Despite the fact that for many years the US and Israel have carried out assassinations and killings of Iranian scientists, Iran has refrained from delivering decisive retaliatory strikes. Furthermore, Khamenei issued a fatwa against the creation of nuclear weapons, considering them a prohibited form of armament. For this reason, Iran did not capitalize on previous opportunities to develop nuclear weapons, even when it had the capability, particularly during the period when the US was preoccupied with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. As a result of the strike on February 28, 2026, in Iran, starting with Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the defense minister and many generals were killed, leading to significant changes in the country's leadership. That is, due to the deaths of several high-ranking officials, new people assumed their positions. Among them, the new leader of Iran became Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Ali Khamenei. Compared to his father, he acted extremely decisively and gave orders for swift and devastating attacks against the United States and Israel. US bases in particular suffered heavy strikes and human losses. In this situation, the United States was completely unprepared. Even Donald Trump stated that he did not expect such overwhelming resistance. By eliminating Khamenei, who, despite numerous attacks in the past, had avoided direct war, the United States itself paved the way for Mojtaba Khamenei, a man who will stop at nothing, to come to power. They made sharp statements. If the US wants to send troops, let them send them. We are waiting. It will not be the US that decides when the war ends, but us. In addition, he firmly stated that any peace agreement would be implemented solely on their terms. This escalation of the situation put the US authorities in an extremely difficult position. Third mistake: the United States' misjudgment of Iran's internal politics. At the beginning of 2026, mass popular protests against the government broke out in Iran. The Iranian leadership brutally suppressed them. At that moment, the United States and Israel considered it the most opportune time to strike, expecting that due to internal instability, the Iranian government would collapse. They assumed the situation would be similar to the events in Libya in 2011, when airstrikes during a popular uprising helped overthrow Gaddafi's regime, and they expected that the government in Iran would fall in a similar manner. Moreover, the US invasion of Venezuela in January and the very easy capture of Maduro must have created an euphoric effect on the American military leadership. They thought they could handle this matter just as easily. But things turned out differently, and their plans did not succeed. This was because the Iranian leadership had, for many years, conducted propaganda among the Iranian people, explaining that the US and Israel are our sworn enemies, and if we weaken, they will not spare us, that the days of the Persian people are numbered, and so on. Moreover, the people of Iran were well aware of the situation of the peoples of Iraq, Syria, and Libya after US intervention, as well as the people of Palestine after Israeli intervention. Therefore, despite their poverty, they immediately supported their government, which had ensured their security and stability. Fourth mistake: underestimating Iran's military capabilities. The United States believed that Iran, being a poor country under heavy sanctions, would not be able to develop its weapons to a high level. They assumed they could destroy Iran's missile launch systems within a few days and neutralize its drones using electronic warfare systems. In reality, however, Iran acted in ways for which the US side was not prepared. For example, Most drones reach their targets using GPS navigation. The United States can disable GPS signals in the areas of important bases to throw drones off course. Nevertheless, according to some reports, Russia and China are providing Iran with covert military support. As a result, GPS is not critically important for Iranian drones. They are capable of reaching their targets using an inertial navigation system, INS. Moreover, even in the absence of navigation systems, drones are equipped with internal mapping software, which allows them to scan the terrain during flight, determine their position, and continue moving toward their target. In addition, many US drone interception systems proved unable to handle all targets due to the sheer number of drones. Iranian drones are distinguished by their simplicity and extremely low cost. No specialized laboratories are required for their production. Iran has proven capable of mass-producing them. Most importantly, Iranian Shahed drones have been actively used by Russia for several years in the war with Ukraine. It is known that the Ukrainian side uses American technology. Therefore, these drones have, to a significant extent, adapted to bypass air defense systems based on US technology. Iran and Russia, having used Shahed drones on the battlefield for several years, significantly improved them by strengthening their weak points. These drones were able to bypass US air defense systems and successfully strike bases. The accuracy of Iranian missiles and drones has also drawn attention. Some experts believe this was made possible thanks to satellite reconnaissance data provided by Russia and China, because the drones and missiles were able to carry out highly sophisticated and precise strikes. They flew through areas that remained outside the attention of US air defense systems and hit fuel depots or weapons storage facilities on the bases, causing devastating explosions. These circumstances made the war extremely difficult and very costly for the United States. Iran is also located in a highly advantageous geographic position. It has effectively blocked the Strait of Hormuz, which is critically important for global oil exports. Through the Strait of Hormuz, oil and gas from Arab countries are transported to many countries around the world. If it is blocked, oil and gas prices will rise sharply, causing enormous damage to the economies of many states. Europe, which is highly dependent on oil and gas, will be the first to suffer, followed by shortages in Australia, India, China, and a number of other Asian countries. This, in turn, will lead to a decline in the United States' prestige in the eyes of many countries and will result in diplomatic pressure on it to end the war. Iran also maintains close ties with the Yemeni Houthis. The Houthis control the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. If it is blocked, global trade will suffer significant losses, and ships will be forced to sail around Africa, making maritime trade much more expensive. Since this strait is a key short route that facilitates trade between continents, its blockage would cause serious damage to many countries around the world. Therefore, a US attack on Iran goes against the interests of the entire world. The United States would not even be able to deploy ground troops in Iran. Iran's population exceeds 85 million, and geographically, the country consists of mountainous terrain that is extremely unfavorable for invaders and highly suitable for defense. Moreover, American society is already exhausted by US wars in Afghanistan and the Middle East, and is strongly opposed to participating in another meaningless war similar to Vietnam. Fifth mistake, the decline of the United States' political influence. During the war between the United States and Iran, the territories of many Arab states that maintained friendly relations with the US came under direct attack. For many years, these countries had been purchasing American weapons worth billions of dollars, relying on the United States to ensure their security. However, the course of the war showed that the US is not fully capable of guaranteeing an effective defense system. This situation will undoubtedly make Arab leaders reconsider their position. In the future, they may gradually reduce their spending on American weapons and, like Turkey, focus on developing our own arms production. Since the early 2000s, the United States has devastated a number of Arab states, and later, by actively supporting Israel in the Israeli-Palestinian war, completely lost its authority among Arab countries. Furthermore, problems in the defense sector further eroded the US's prestige. Through its influence in Arab countries, the US also exerted leverage over European states, as Europeans are heavily dependent on Arab oil and gas. By regulating oil and gas prices, the US was able to exert influence over European countries. However, if many Arab states turn away from the US, America will significantly lose its former influence. In conclusion, the war between the US and Iran proved to be extremely difficult and a mistake for the United States. It undermined US credibility in the world and will create challenges for its long-term policies. Donald Trump's pursuit of a peace agreement also served as evidence that, in practice, their plans did not materialize and were thwarted.